And we are now in the home stretch. This is our final department, and it's the Department of State. And they have an overall IT budget of a little over $1.4 billion. Now, overall levels of spending have remained fairly constant within the department, and they split their investments fairly evenly between maintaining their IT backbone, which provides international IT support to the U.S. consulates abroad, as well as the development and modernization of applications that are used to help state execute its mission. So the department is led by Secretary of State John Kerry, and Stephen Taylor acts as the departmental CIO, although State actually has two fairly significant IT groups, which we're going to talk about over the next few slides. Now, obviously, the big story that's here regarding State continues to be the death of the U.S. ambassador to Libya back in September 2012, and really the need of the department to update its intelligence analysis capabilities to identify possible threats to U.S. embassies, and to just in general update its diplomatic security IT infrastructure as well. And here you can probably see part of the problem with the State Department. This is one heck of an org chart, and it's also probably a pretty good time to talk a little bit about the culture of the department. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it or you've heard about it, but it certainly bears repeating. Compared with a lot of federal departments, State is often a late adopter of technology, and its upper levels of management are seen as frequently resistant to change. Now, you've got two IT primary insertion points here. Obviously, the Bureau of Information Resources Management, that's where Stephen Taylor sits as the CIO, and the Bureau of Consular Affairs, and that's where Greg Ambrose is Director of Consular Systems of Technology, and he presides over the IT systems that operates the visa processing locations. You're also going to find IT requirements up at the Bureau of Diplomatic Security, particularly cybersecurity requirements. They do handle a lot of the oversight of the department's IT infrastructure, the security infrastructure abroad.
So here is that IRM group that Stephen Taylor heads up, and there are a couple offices here that are developing some of State's major priorities. So the first is the Office of E-Diplomacy, which is working on modernizing the way that State talks or communicates with other nations and provides that leadership through a combination of experienced foreign and civil service officers. Another major program to look out for at IRM is the Foreign Affairs Network. Now that provides not only the department's IT backbone abroad, but it also acts as infrastructure for other federal civilian agencies who have personnel overseas. Now I want to talk quickly about what Consular Systems and Technology is doing and how that's different from IRM. CS&T essentially manages and develops the applications that take care of U.S. passports or visas. So think of the difference between the two groups like this. IRM operates the infrastructure upon which State Department runs, and CS&T is developing the necessary business applications for them to execute their mission. Now moving into contractors, and I'm sure the first thing you notice up here is those undisclosed foreign contractors, which sounds pretty exciting. Unfortunately, it's really a bunch of basic IT work that State Department embassies and missions contract for locally when they're in different countries around the world. Significant development work is usually undertaken by the typical roster of SIs. In this case, SAIC, Accenture, SRA, and Harris, who are all major players here. State takes advantages of GWACs a little more often than other agencies, preferring to use things like Alliant, SUP 4, and Schedule 70 for significant portions of their IT purchases. Now, the one significant State vehicle you should be aware of is the Hybrid Information Technology Services for State, or HITS contract, which is a MAC with 20 different vendors currently vying to perform services for State both here and abroad.
One of the most surprising initiatives that the State Department has actually been talking about lately is actually the move to be a cloud broker for other federal agencies that have personnel deployed abroad. You recall that we mentioned the Foreign Affairs Network, and this proposal would sort of be an expansion on that system. It would expand out the cloud infrastructure, and it would allow other federal agencies to make use of State Department systems in a pinch. So the agency, as we mentioned before, is also a late adopter of technology. And while the department as a whole is getting better, State likely isn't going to be the best place if you have new and cutting-edge technology that hasn't already been battle-tested in other federal departments. However, don't let that dissuade you, as technologies that can factor into some of the initiatives that we've really talked about with State today could actually find a home within these departments. Now on to the State Department programs. The first we'll discuss is the deployment, maintenance, and refresh services investment. And that really funds a lot of the normal refresh cycles to the department, but it also provides for some modernization of core IT systems. Now, alongside with replacing servers and storage at various locations, both domestic and abroad, the investment is also looking to update and upgrade desktop and mobile video teleconferencing solutions and other collaboration tools so that folks in geographically distributed areas are actually able to effectively work together on projects. Look for this investment to also assist the Bureau of Diplomatic Security with its efforts to ensure that embassies are more secure and to improve the early warning systems that consulates and missions rely on to ensure that they have that real-time threat information. And that's something that actually has the backing of both the Hill and departmental leadership, so there is going to be funding along these lines.
And the last program that we have time to talk about today is Consular Systems Modernization. This investment supports the paperless processing of immigrant visas. So really central to this is a comprehensive suite of applications called Consular One. And this investment handles creating and processing all travel documents. Now, Greg Ambrose has expressed that the goal here is for a lot of the processing work on immigrant visas and other similar travel documents to be done by a single, streamlined system where a consular officer only needs to log in once to access all of the relevant information about the individuals applying for a visa, which also includes needing to interface with DHS and DOJ identification systems. Now, as a result of the sensitivity of the data associated with this system and the fact that it's frequently transmitted to places across the world, strong security solutions also have to be in place here.